Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Pacific Pokemon Podcast, where we talk about Pokemon with a focus on VGC. If you like what we do, help us out by clicking that subscribe button, liking the video, maybe leaving a comment down below. We'd love to hear from you guys. Also, check out that Discord link in the description down below, and join our Discord server too. Hang out, chat. It's all fun and games, share teams, etc. So, with that said, my name is Lindsay. My Pokemon choice this week is a stream star that has already been one of my picks, but because of its prominence in Sacramento, I still have to pick it anyway. We're going with Kommo-o this week. Again. I love that thing too much.
And I'm Bambi, and my Pokemon of the week is Fire Pond. Reason why is because I think it's just way too strong. It doesn't matter what set it brings. Sometimes, for some reason, it will even win under Trick Room, even when you're supposed to be winning under Trick Room.
Yeah.
And then you will lose because it set up Swords Dance and Trick Room, and now it's time to lose.
Yeah, I mean, an unthreatened Fire Pun.
Guess what that happened too? Yay!
Oh no, was that in one of your matches at Sacramento, or was that more recent?
That was in the MSS. That was
Okay.
the reason why I didn't get to finals.
Oh no! Swords Dance, Fire Pun in Trick Room pulled it off. Wow. Was it a Grassy Glide as well on there? Or
I think so, yeah.
okay.
They had the Grassy Glide spam option, even though they never did it because I positioned well enough with it, but they just had to click the funny button and win.
I mean, Ivy Cudgel just does so much damage. Especially if you get that +2. That move is nuts. I swear.
Yeah, even when it's not +2, it's still doing way too much.
Oh yeah. No, it's terrifying, honestly, that it can pick up resisted KOs when it's boosted at +2. Like, that's insane.
Yep. I will say, though, my Iron Hands lived everything I needed it to live.
Nice.
And outsped everything it needed to outspeed. So
fair enough. Good build. Good build. But yeah, my Pokemon choice this week, Kommo-o. Like I said, I have already chosen Kommo-o since the DLC dropped. It is one of my favorite returning Pokemon. Specifically, I had to choose it again this week because it showed up so noticeably at Sacramento, and I was running it at Sacramento to very little success on my end. However, big shout out to Michael Zhang, who was able to run it to extreme success. So, that's about it for me on the Kommo-o. I'm just super on the hype train. His build is also totally different than what anybody else has been running so far, so like that's pretty neat in and of itself.
As far as I was concerned, that was probably that was the only Kommo-o build with the body press set.
I mean, it makes good sense.
The very first thing I did in this generation was Terra-Fighting Body Press, Iron Defense, Torkoal in the Trick Room.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I feel like that would do a lot of damage. Terra-Fighting is really strong on that at that point. Like, that's as strong as a Landorus, actually. 140. Is Landorus 140 or 145 base attack? Anyway.
145.
Okay. Almost as strong as Landorus, but even then, that's actually pretty nuts. But yeah, otherwise, before we dive into Sacramento, since that's going to be probably 95% of this podcast today, couple of details of stuff going on. There's the Blisseys Terra raids returning the weekend following this recording, so before you guys even get it, unfortunately. Sorry guys, but the Blisseys Terra raids are happening this weekend following the Decidueye, so I think it's pretty safe to assume we're getting another starter Terra raid event this upcoming weekend for the listeners. No idea what that's going to be. I personally would be very interested to see Incineroar. Obviously, it's definitely in everybody's minds right now, you know, knowing that it's coming back with DLC 2. So So I'm sure there are quite a few other players like myself who would rather just, get that Incineroar early so they can start doing their competitive stat breeding in Scarlet Violet and have everything fully ready to go the moment it's allowed. Have the Terra types already done, stats already done, etc. But that may just
We
be me.
both know they don't have the programming power to get this done in time. There's like way not enough people working on this to make that happen. That's just my take, though. I think we'll be seeing Incineroar probably next year.
Fair. I don't know. It really depends on, because we've already gotten a lot of the starters in Terra raids. We got Charizard. We got actually none of the other Gen 1s. So maybe they bring back a Gen 1 starter. Finally.
Maybe.
Venusaur or Blastoise.
I would love Venusaur.
I would love Venusaur to come back as well, honestly. That'd be great.
But it just makes me so upset that I couldn't use it.
Yeah.
But after seeing Eviolite Weepinbell take off, I kind of have hope for, like, Eviolite Ivysaur.
That was actually hilarious to me, the Eviolite Weepinbell. Blew my mind.
Mm-hmm.
But before we go into Eviolite Weepinbell, because that's part of Sacramento. That was silly, but great. Couple other announcements. There's some Pokemon Go stuff that they've announced, which is pretty cool. We've got Wooper Community Day, November 5th. Finally, they told us what we were getting. Start of November. Remember the 5th of November to get your Clodsire. Yeah. But low-key, I think Clodsire is actually going to be
November.
It is the 5th.
It's the 5th.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought it was the 4th. Okay.
Anyway,
Anyway, happy Guy Fawkes Day to everybody.
I've watched that movie a few too many times, so.
It's Guy Fawkes Day. Everybody coming up soon.
Exactly.
It's like it's the Ides of October, and we're wishing you a happy Guy Fawkes Day.
Right, like 2.5 weeks out.
So,
I'm just really excited
that the Queen didn't get assassinated or something like that.
I'm just very excited for Paldean Wooper and Clodsire in Go. I think Clodsire is actually going to be a very good new competitive Pokemon in Pokemon Go. And so that's kind of what's got me a little excited for it. Quagsire is already actually a very good mon. And so Clodsire stands to reason that it would also be good and has a really neat typing with the Poison Ground. Go also launched a party feature this past week. On Tuesday the 17th, the feature launched, where you can party up with up to 3 people, 3 of your friends, while you're out exploring and doing stuff, and you can complete extra challenges along the way. So like catching weather boost Pokemon or doing raids or whatever like that. And you get extra rewards out of it. It's a fun little neat thing since most people tend to go in groups anyway. I think it's cool that they are actually trying to encourage people to travel in groups as well, because that's also safer. You know?
It is a lot safer to do that.
So, all in all,
and if we're being honest, if you're playing Pokemon Go, you're probably driving to somewhere and then playing, so it gets less cars on the road too.
Yep.
Which is better.
Yeah, the ability to then like carpool and, oh hey, you guys can party up while you're driving, you know, and then by the time you get there, you're already set up, ready to go, and all of that. So, yeah, pretty cool stuff there with them to Go. Not a whole lot else coming out in terms of other news, for other games or anything like that. There is actually also a event or a mystery gift code, I mean, for some Herba Mysticas that has just started up in Scarlet and Violet. So that's pretty cheap and easy to get, but also handy, you know, free Herba Mysticas. It runs until September 30th of next year as well, so this is available for a very long time. The code for this is Sweet or spicy, with the O being a 0 and the I being a 1 because you can't use O and I. But sweet or spicy is the code, and it gives you either sweet Herba Mystica or spicy Herba Mystica. Cool. Shall we talk about some Sacramento? Because that was a good time.
Yes. That was such a good time. And oh my gosh, what the heck happened to these usage statistics?
Right?
Fluttermane is in 3rd place now.
These usage statistics, yeah, the usage stats for this regional are so weird
For
to
once,
me.
half of my team is in the top 12 usage.
Nice. That's
Yeah,
pretty
Iron Hands,
solid.
Landorus, Water Pond Ogre. That was half my team in Sac.
Okay. Yeah. And I mean, a lot of these Pokemon make great teams regardless here. But what's really interesting to me is that this usage stats lines up with my experiences versus what I saw in day 2 doing well as well. Like, I encountered Flutter Chi more than I
I'm
would have
gonna be
liked
honest.
to. And that 14%,
Every single game felt like it had a Landorus on it. Every single game did have Iron Hands on it,
right?
and every single time I lost, it was the Fire Pond.
I totally believe
Pretty
that.
much.
Yeah,
Yeah, and Rillaboom.
day 1 was very different than day 2, though. Day 1 had Iron Hands at 57, Landorus at 51, followed by Fluttermane at 50. So those 3 being on at least half of every team in the entire event. And then in the 30s range, you're looking at Tornadus at 32, Waterpawn at 31.4, and Firepawn at 30.9. A big thing to note is that both of these Ogerpon forms were side by side in day 1. Rillaboom looking at 23.5, Urshifu at 20, Heatran, Chen Pao, Chi-Yu, and King Gambit going the sub 20 final 4.
Yeah, it's not really shocking to see King Gambit show up at the 12th slot when Landorus is number 2.
Exactly my thoughts as well. King Gambit's definitely like one of the best Defiant users in the game. And just in terms of base stats, King Gambit's able to exert so much pressure.
And also in the top 12, I should have said top 6 earlier because 4 of these Pokemon are on my team. I just forgot I had Chi-Yu with me this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had.
Right.
And I did not do well day 1 whatsoever. I forgot to get my team submitted in time. Just a quick note to everybody: you do have to hit the little circle on RK9 and then hit submit, not hit submit then the little circle. And so,
yeah. You have to choose which event it's for. I figured out why they do that when I was registering for the mid-season showdown. It's because sometimes you can register for multiple things through RK9 at the same time, and you can submit different lists for each one. And so when I was registering for the mid-season, then I realized I was like, oh, now it all makes sense. At least I'm choosing to submit the team to this event. Okay.
Yeah, don't make the mistake, everybody. You'll be forced to round 1 loss like me, and unless you are having a crazy streak after that, yeah, not much help there. So I didn't do well there.
I mean, you still did better than I did, all in all. In day 1. Sacramento was a nightmare for my team, unfortunately, but we'll go into that a little bit later. But yeah, definitely a very different spread when we change over to day 2's. Most popular, the top 12 usage. So we see a little bit of a shift in the top 3. Seeing Fluttermane move up ahead of Iron Hands and Landorus, with Landorus and Iron Hands moving down to a clean 50%. Fluttermane up at 58. That, not really all that surprising.
This is exactly the 12 Pokemon that I consistently ran into every single match, though.
I completely believe that. Because you know what? These guys are
It's almost
the
like these
best.
are the only 12 people, like 12 Pokemon who showed up.
Practically, though, honestly. I mean, there definitely were a couple others. You know, there were some Blood Moon Ursalunas and stuff like that, but
I mean, yeah, there's me. And there's Carson.
Yep. There's actually I'm looking forward to going over some of the top teams for this event because there's some kind of spice on literally like every single team that made top 8 for Sacramento. It's fantastic. It's so nice. So refreshing. But then the Fire Ogre Pond drastically moving up from route around 31% to about 42% usage in day 2, with Water Ogre Pond dropping down from that same 31 to 25. From there, Tornadus also dropped noticeably down to 25% from 32 and was actively replaced by Rillaboom and Urshifu, coming back up at 33 each. Heatran sneaking its way above Waterpon and Tornadus as well at about 29% or 28%. And then Chen Pao and Gambit and then Dragonite poking his way in at the very end. It surprises me how much Fire Pond overtook Water Pond here. Like, that's one of the things that stands out big to me from day 1 to day 2. How clearly the meta is leaning towards that fire and grass coverage finally. People have started to tune the EV spreads a little bit better. They've started to figure out where they need that defensive investment in it, or what speed tier they need to hit versus what they feel like they don't. And we're seeing the fire ponds really pop off a lot more. Definitely going wild. In comparison to Peoria's day 2 as well, there's not as much big difference, but it's neat to see that Chi-Yu completely fell off in from Peoria's day 2, as well as Hisui and Arcanine dropping way down too. So still a very physically dominant meta and almost all of the exact same Pokemon otherwise. Landorus slid down a little bit, but everybody else is basically hanging out mostly the same. So definitely some interesting spreads coming through in what has been most common among all teams for these. Did you want to go over top 8, or did you want to talk about our teams first?
Let's talk about top 8.
Top 8. So, like, obviously Michael Zhang won this whole thing, bringing the Kommo-o, as I mentioned at the start of this video, along with
Tyranitar.
Yes, the T-Tar. Such an interesting combination. Terra Psychic on the Tyranitar too. Yeah, Terra Psychic. I'm used to seeing the Terra Ghost on T-Tar to dodge those fighting type moves altogether. But Terra Psychic instead. I'm trying to figure out exactly why, because like there's not really any defensive benefit much. There really is nothing that I can even think of. Actually, except for resistance to Psy Spam. Still.
Yes.
And I guess for the Terra Blast specifically. It does have Terra Blast.
I'm still really having a hard time wrapping my mind around that myself.
Honestly, I'm right there with you. It probably has a decent matchup actually into the Assault Vest hands or something along that line.
Because you resist the drain punches.
Yeah. But it just, that is such an interesting Terra type. Yeah,
it is. It's so boggles me. It's just like one of those things that just really attests to how awkward Tyranitar is.
Right? I feel like that's what that should be Terra Fairy, except they didn't want to have the weakness to Steel type still, because Tyranitar is naturally already weak to Steel. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
that's literally why they went with Terra Psychic instead of Terra Fairy there. That's
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. That's the only thing that makes any sense that I can really stick to.
So it's a offensive type, but it's not one that really has a lot of niches in the meta right now.
At least not in terms of like a Terra type, especially. It's not the most defensive
Mm-hmm.
Terra type choice. You know, Psychic is still weak to a good number of types, weak to Bug,
Mm-hmm.
Dark, and Ghost. And Bug
Yeah.
is still a type that Tyranitar is already weak to as well. It's just a type that nobody is using competitively, except
Mm-hmm.
for the rare Cleavor. Or I guess Illumise. But Illumise doesn't do
I gotta
damage,
give
so
this
it's
team
fine.
a try, but I don't know if I'm gonna be able to use it well.
I actually really want to try this team out. Obviously, as a huge Kommo-o fan, I definitely want to try this team out. You know,
I like bundle, and you like bundle.
I do like Bundle. I like the booster Deliborg.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's be real, Iron Bundle is a terrible name, and Deliborg is perfect. And it should have been
Mm-hmm.
Deliborg. But anyway.
Bradley Factura in Power Friends with Amoonguss, this time with the new piece with Fire Ogrepon. I think that's about it.
It's literally Chenpao and Friends, but
It's
Firepon
literally the
instead.
same team. It's literally the same team. Nothing's changed. Alright, we're
It,
down.
what does
Uh,
surprise me a little bit is that he's actually running the Follow Me on a Firepon.
oh yeah, Follow Me is so good.
It is really good. Definitely. Like, never arguing that. But you usually see the Fire Pond never running it. You usually see the Follow Me on the Water Ponds to capitalize on Water Absorb and redirect, spores or whatever. But, like,
Mm-hmm. Still strong.
definitely still strong. Probably helps to take Will-O-Wisps and whatnot that would be directed at Dragonite or Chien-Pao or King Gambit or Urshifu.
Mm-hmm.
All of the very physical attackers on the rest of that team. Also interesting to see that he has the Grass Knot on the Amoonguss.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that he's able to output some level of consistent damage.
Yeah, it really hurts Gastrodon, and Gastrodon is an answer that'll be common to this team.
This is very true.
Gastrodon
Gastrodon,
has been also been known to Grassnot's just also always been known to be the Gastrodon button.
yeah. Well, and Gastrodon is also very known to just make random appearances in regionals and consistently top cut whenever it does.
Just like it did this time around. But we'll get to
Exactly.
that.
Alberto Lara brought the Gastrodon. Coming in 6th place
Mhm.
with the Gastrodon. 3rd place, though, brought Snow, which I'm a little overly excited to mention.
This is so crazy. Like, I think this really goes to show just like how um how talented of a player, like, how skilled of a player he is to be able to go this far with something that people were really kind of like putting like low on the power levels, like going into this tournament. Not a lot of people were worried about Snow. A lot of people were
No.
respecting the new tech and scale shot early on in the meta. But like
Mm-hmm.
nobody, I don't think anybody really thought that Ninetales was gonna top four.
Yeah. Let alone make it right into that 3rd slot, almost making it into the top.
Mm-hmm.
Almost
Yeah.
top 2. But, like, wow. Chillery. Oof. That
Mm-hmm.
is a nickname. Really cool to see the Baxcalibur showing up and that ice core. Also not running thermal exchange on the Baxcalibur. This time running ice body for the healing when snow is active.
Yeah, I ran into two Excaliburs and I beat both of them. I think Thermal Exchange was the harder one to beat.
Definitely fair. And in the right circumstances, I totally get it. I think...
Just because of that Will-O-Wisp community.
Yeah. Yeah. Immunity to Will-O-Wisp is really hard. Especially your team definitely utilizes that a lot more. So I definitely understand how that would be an issue. I think he probably built this team mostly focused on Iron Hands and Urshifu. And probably was a little bit more worried about the fighting type being the most common damage into that backs. But it's also neat that he's running the Snow Warning Alolan Ninetales with no Blizzard. Just Icy Wind and Moonblast with Aurora Veil and Protect.
Yeah, the Ninetales I played against didn't have Blizzard this time around either.
And that's kind of interesting. The speed control is definitely worth it, but Ninetales isn't necessarily the best source of that. Just coming in at 109, unfortunately slower than Ogerpon and Tornadus and Thundurus, etc. by default. So kind of a rough speed tier on that one, I feel like. But it clearly worked for him regardless.
And then coming in with 130 CP in fourth place is going to be Isui and Arcanine again. This time with that Fortitude with Tornadoes in there. And to be able to pit it, we got Rillaboom. And I think this is a Scarf, or if I'm not mistaken. Let me check real quick.
We're looking at a Mystic Water by the looks of it.
Mystic Water?
This time around,
oh,
yeah.
Okay, my bad. It was loading when I was pulling it up.
Yeah, I got a fast computer here. I get you there.
One thing I want to note is we got my favorite version of Arcanine with the Intimidate Paranormal E-Speed Choice Band.
Yep, and the Head Smash just for the really fast
Head Smash, even though it takes the recoil, I do that too.
When you just need like strong Terra stab damage, Head Smash is really good.
One thing to note is we see the Ubers Fluttermane, the Calm Mind, Shadow Ball, Moonblast effect.
And with the booster energy as well. I don't recall if his Flutter was booster speed or booster special attack.
I don't recall it either. Either way, we got Terra Grass Static, so it can't be redirected either way.
Yeah.
Unless it's by a fire, like an Ogerpon, that's really the only thing redirecting either of these moves.
And an Ogerpon is not taking those very well.
No, they're not. And unless you're an Aspire Ogerpon, you're not walking into this and walking out just fine.
Exactly. And then alongside the Rain Dance Tornadus as well to be able to nerf the damage of that Fire Pawn and increase the damage of Urshifu as well.
Yeah, I wonder if this team just was enough to help deal with it, because Fire Ogerpon just is a lot.
It really does.
I don't even know if Intimidate plus Urshifu and Rain with Tailwind even is enough to stop it sometimes.
Can't deny that. That thing is just very strong, very good.
Like that Fake Out.
Yeah.
And Priority.
Yeah. Interesting choice on
that, but Priority that Urshifu is weak to.
True. Indeed. I think he made an interesting choice on the Terra for his Rillaboom. Here, specifically Terra Steel. Rillaboom. Still weak to the fire moves. So still weak to Fire Pawn, still weak to Chi-Yu. Quite an unusual decision there. More than likely just to get that extra resistance into the Terra Flyings. Notably from Landorus, Roaring Moon, etc.
Yeah.
Very different, very interesting. Intriguing. But still very understandable as well. You know, like all of the choices on this team are pretty straightforward in some aspect. You can look at it and say, okay, I see what you're going for here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
It's a matter of making those right calls on pivots and whatnot.
Exactly.
And clearly, this was somebody who was able to do that.
Yeah. Very, very clearly practiced a lot on making sure that he knew those matchups and
Mm-hmm.
knew those play-by-plays. I had a couple of shout outs for the rest of the top 8 in some contenders that I wanted to show because we got a Gastrodon coming in 6th from Alberto Lara, which is pretty neat. Gastrodon. I think that's about the only one. And then Aaron Brock bringing a Ninetales himself as well. This one
Mm-hmm.
is running the Blizzard and the Freeze Dry. So pure ice moves, Ninetales there instead.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit different team though. No backs, no ice core there. Just kind of the single Ninetales to help the team out. And then this is exactly the person I thought it was. Oh my goodness. Massive shout out to Brian Collins, who was able to effectively play day 2 with 5 Pokemon in his
Mm-hmm.
team and make it to number 7 with the Indeedee
I'm afraid
Armoration.
of judges at this point, so I'm not going to say anything about it.
I mean, I don't really even have any sides to take on it. I just heard
They're
about
always
it
listening.
and thought it was hilarious as I heard about it while I'm watching events going on at the regional. I'm like, wait, really? That's what happened? Wow. All right, that's hilarious. It's just so
But Double
funny.
Bear Trick Room was enough.
No kidding.
The top 8.
Yeah. The Dark Urshifu with the Indeedee, Torkoal, Hatterene, or Indeedee, Torkoal, Ursaluna, and Armourouge, I mean. 4.
Mm-hmm.
Really strong. Yeah. Just for those who are not aware of what happened, he has Gallade as his 6th member of that team, and he nicknamed it Ceruledge. And because it was nicknamed the name of another Pokemon, he was
It was
asked,
Fairledge in quotation marks.
It doesn't show that here, but that's just probably poor team sheet execution or something like that, on this end. Yeah. His Pokemon's name was Ceruledge, and they didn't like that. So they asked him to not bring it, I guess, is basically what happened. Um, so yeah, kudos for 5 Pokemoning a regional and making it to 7th. Very well done.
Yeah, crazy.
Just wild. Yeah. What a week it was. Did you want to cover your matches much? Talk about your team?
Um, I mean, I brought the Blood Moon Ursaluna with Dusclops, along with 4 of the top 12 Pokemon from day 1, which were Iron Hands, Landorus, Chew, and Ogerpon Water.
Good core.
I felt like I had a really good time in the MSS. I did really well. I got 32 CP out of it. And
Heck
Pokemon
yeah.
Go Plus from my mom. And she loves the heck out of it.
Of
So it's going
course.
well. Um,
Every kind of gift like that is always.
it does have some issues where it disconnects after a certain period of time. It won't stay on always. So it
Huh.
doesn't do well with Pokemon Sleep right now.
Oh, yeah, if she's trying to use it with sleep, yeah, it struggles with sleep.
Mm-hmm.
But it works well for Go.
Yep. Um, yeah. Shout out to Wrath. For the rematch I had day 2 for a different team, and we had another really good time. I played him in day 1. Was one of my favorite matches of the entire day. Um,
Nice.
yeah, one of the best players from Mexico.
So,
Uh,
just to make sure I understand this right, you played him in the regular events on day 1.
I
And
played him in
then
Swiss, and then I played him in the
in the
last round of Swiss
mid-season.
in the mid-season showdown.
Nice.
Yep.
That's really fun.
I even looked at the judge and made the joke about a rematch. Come on.
That's great though, especially if he brought a different team.
Yeah, he brought a
That makes
different
it
team, but I brought
so
the
much
same
more.
one. I just led hard into the trick room, and I was just like, it's gonna be fine.
Nice, nice.
And that's what I ended up doing with all of these different things. Realizing that like potentially like I might need to just like find a way to crack hard trick room going forward. Probably next.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like your team executes best probably by just clicking Trick Room Funny button first and
Mm-hmm.
letting the rest of the team
And
sweep
then
after
coming
Trick
and
Room,
tackling.
you know?
Well, yeah, it's
If
kind of weird.
possible, you know. Sometimes you don't always get those matches where you can do
It
anything with
it
burst.
doesn't really do that very well.
But
It's usually like you pivot cycle, like you intimidate cycle through until you can get the bear out, and then you sweep.
fair enough.
Hmm.
I'll trust your experience there. You've definitely performed with that team far better than I have so far.
It really just depends on what your opponent has to stop your trick room,
True.
and whether or not your matchup. I mean, like honestly, like I just bring hard Chi into Indeedee Armor Rouge, so that's usually what I use with that. So it's usually not too big of a problem just launching Choice Spec Snarl.
Yeah.
Um, it just wins the game against that. So, um, wondering if maybe I might be able to figure out a way to utilize something like Porygon 2 in the future with this team instead of Dusclops.
I'm certain there is some manner by which to do that. Porygon is a fantastic Pokemon, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna be a great Trick Room setter when it comes in, for sure. Always has been, always will be.
Yeah, I ran into problems with Dusclops,
Ah,
but I
that's
mean,
understandable.
it's just kind of an awkward piece.
Ran into
Um,
issues where like it wasn't doing enough when it was on the field, right? Outside of
well, I ran into the issue of as soon as people saw how bulky it
mhm.
was in one game, they would just immediately ignore it for the rest of the games until they finally got their piece out that could sweep it,
Yep.
like set up in front of it. Like usually they just wait to fire Ogerpon Dusclops in the end, and then
Yeah.
I just couldn't do anything.
That's understandable. They kind of figured out how to play around it and leave it to the end, knowing that it's
Hmm.
not going to do enough damage.
Yeah. Or they just figure out that they can set up in front of me and call me out and deal with it right there in the next turn, which only
True.
happened a couple times.
That's fair. Fast setup can be really good. Yeah. Always.
Hmm.
A lot of my matches ended up with me just getting deleted by special attackers, unfortunately, predominantly.
Mm-hmm.
I brought a very physically tanky team. I brought Iron Hands,
Mm-hmm.
Landorus, Sinistra, Hisuian Gudra, Kommo-o, and oh, it was the Alolan Ninetales. There
Okay.
we go. I was like, I'm impressed in managing to forget this. It's like on the tip of my tongue. Yeah.
Hmm.
The Ninetales did great for me, except for when it couldn't be faster, which was more often than I would have liked. And my matchups just ended up. I feel like I just drew the short straw for my first couple rounds, and very quickly was already down and out. Uh, my team struggles against specific, or that team specifically struggles against very offensive special cores. My first match went up against
Hmm.
Flutter Chiyu. My second match followed up with Indeedee Armor Rouge. and Hatterene. Spam. My third match was a very physical team that I absolutely decimated. Flattened it back down to the ground. Kind of like what I had planned for. And then round 4 comes around, and my opponent knows how to pivot their golden go to the best of their absolute ability to make it the only thing that they barely managed to win out with. Really close games there, so shout out to my R4 opponent. But yeah, at that point, I decided I was pretty much done and decided it would be best for me to focus on enjoying the other aspects of the event. So I dropped pretty quickly there, and then my mid-season showdown was even worse. I had multiple team sheet errors that I did not catch in my double checks that just were causing consistent problems in multiple matches throughout the very beginning of the mid-season showdown, kind of just ruining the start of it from there, you know. Errors that I didn't catch that then led to me auto losing rounds. I started off with the round 1 bye, which was cool. That is a-okay. Such is life, such is how these things go sometimes. All in all, I still definitely enjoyed my experience in Sacramento. What about you, Bambi? Did you at least have fun regardless of any and all losses and etc.? I mean, you at least came in third in the midseason, so that's pretty sweet.
Oh yeah, Sacramento's a great town. Definitely would go back for events there again.
It was a really good time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We think that's going to be about it this week around here from us. Covering all of the Sacramento experiences, and then next week we will touch back to some of those online tournaments and hit up the Lille, or however you pronounce it, regionals as well in France that will be occurring this upcoming weekend. So for all of you who are new to the channel, don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out the Discord link down below as well. Once again, join our community there. We're always hanging out, chatting, and interested in adding more people. Thank you, everybody, for coming and checking us out today. Catch you guys next week.
Bye.